All right, guys, it is not often that I make a change to my golf bag quite like this one. And I can say that with a lot of confidence because Titleist, and Vokey specifically, has literally never made a club like this one. And what makes this particular club so different, so important, and really ultimately the reason why it's gonna go in my bag is because of what you see right here, 44F. And what that means is that this is a 44-degree F grind wedge. And previous to this, the lowest, or you call it strongest lofted wedge that Vokey Wedgeworks made was a 46 degree. And where this became kind of a problem, if you want to call it that, over time, is that over the previous couple of generations, we've seen iron sets getting stronger and stronger lofted. And what I mean by that is whether it's game improvement irons or even players irons. For example, I play the T150 irons in the pitching wedge. I'm going to show you the difference in those in just a second. But those pitching wedges are now somewhere around that 44 degrees. In fact, mine is 44 degrees. So if I wanted to swap that out with a Vokey wedge, previously, the only option I had was the 46 degree, which would create a pretty good gap between my 9-iron and my pitching wedge. There was really not a good option to get a replacement Vokey wedge for my set wedge. So then naturally, if you're asking the question, okay, then why should I play a Vokey wedge versus playing the pitching wedge that came in my set? Well, who better to answer that question than the man himself, Bob Vokey?
The reason the majority of players play Vokey pitching wedges rather than their pitching wedge in the set is because the Vokey is designed with the creativity of a scoring wedge. You can hit a lot more shots greenside with the ability to move the ball a little bit, hit it out of the first cut. It's not going to hit flyers on it. It's so very important. And also what I think one of the major points is feel. And trust me, when you want to score well, you better play with feel.
I mean, there it is right there. Bob Vokey basically invented the modern wedge in a lot of ways as we know it. And as he's saying, it's really a feel club. And keep in mind that so many of the things that we value in our modern wedges today, things like spin milled grooves, they came directly out of Bob Vokey's workshop. And I've also had the luxury and the very good fortune to have visited Bob Vokey's workshop myself, and I will tell you, as a golfer and as an equipment nerd, it is definitely a little slice of heaven. But in there you can see how all of the SM10 wedges that are made, the spin milled grooves, they're cut right to the edge to maximize spin, and every single wedge that leaves that shop is 100% inspected for quality, conformance, and what's most important to us golfers is performance. Now, getting back to that whole set wedge versus Vokey wedge comparison and debate, one thing I want to point out is that this is not just necessarily for Titleist iron set players. In fact, a lot of the different brands out there that are making game improvement and players irons are putting pitching wedges in those sets that are around that 42, 43, 44 degrees. And it's that gapping between the 9-iron and the pitching wedge that you have to consider. But previous, when the 46 was the only option out of Wedgeworks, you had too big a gap no matter which of those sets you were playing to put it in the bag. Now this opens up the option, if you are playing Vokey wedges in a mixed bag with another manufacturer, you can possibly now add one more Vokey into that lineup. And then again, speaking more personally in my case, I play the T150s in my pitching wedge through 8-iron in my mixed set. I was fit for these, and make no mistake about it, I absolutely love the T150s. They've really been some of the best scoring irons I have absolutely ever played. But I've also very much come to love my Vokey wedges. We had a chance to get fit for the new SM10 wedges very recently, and they've been an absolute game changer for me for all the reasons we mentioned before with the way that they're built. But even more importantly, as I learn this game and I get better at playing this game, I find that each year over year, I'm valuing my wedges even more. I'm finding how much of the scoring and handicap reduction really happens with those creative shots around the greens. And really that's what the Vokey wedges let me do, is play multiple different types of shots like Bob was talking about. I've said this before, but I really call them the Swiss Army knife of my bag. And for as much as I absolutely love these T150 irons, when you look at that pitching wedge side by side with this brand new Vokey option, you can really see what makes the Vokey different. Those spin milled grooves are just amazing at creating that extra spin and control. And also you get to take advantage here of that great Vokey F grind, which I also happen to play in my 48. So it makes it very cohesive along the way in my wedges. And one fun kind of added bonus with the 44F is you get to take advantage of all that great Vokey Wedgeworks customization. The club comes in both a Tour Chrome as well as a raw finish option. And then in there, you can really dial it into your own unique look by doing that custom stamping, which you guys know we love. We've done this with wedges for years now, and I got to put my kind of favorite skull stamping on there. It just gives me that confidence to remind myself to just attack those pins and just be as deadly as I can with these scoring clubs. Now, of course, the big question is whether or not the new 44F is going to go directly in the bag. And it might be a question you're asking yourself as well. If you're playing a 44 or 43 degree set pitching wedge right now, and you're thinking about taking advantage of everything we talked about with the Vokey wedge and swapping it out, well, I can tell you from my own personal experience, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this a little bit on the launch monitor indoors. I want to take a look at some of those spin, but more importantly, it really comes down to getting this out on turf. So I can tell you right now, I'm going to throw this in the bag. I'm going to play a couple of practice rounds, having both wedges in my bag. There's nothing for me better than a side-by-side real world comparison and get an idea of how those feel. And if you're wondering whether it ends up landing in there or not, I can tell you right now, we are going to be doing a full what's in the bag rundown here in just a few weeks. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that. In the meantime though, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts, so drop them in the comments. What do you think of this brand new offering, this 44 degree? And are you going to be considering possibly swapping out your own pitching wedge for this club? I want to know about it. Post in the comments below, subscribe, and I will let you guys know whether this has earned that spot in the bag in the next What's in the Bag video. We'll see you over there.